Authorities were trying to reason with him, but ultimately police shot and killed a man to end a nearly 2-hour standoff in South Spokane. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mike Gonzalez.
And I'm Nadine Woodward. Spokane police spent several hours trying to talk James Rogers out of his overturned van at 7th and Hatch, but something went wrong, and negotiations with police were interrupted by gunfire.
We understand you have 7 kids. They will need their dad in the future. They will need to talk to you.
Tonight we're answering your questions about how this all started, who this man was, and what eyewitnesses saw when it all went down.
KXLY4's Ian Cull talked to Rogers' family about why they think they could have saved his life. We begin, though, with Jeff Humphrey, who is live to explain what happened and what's next. Jeff?
Nadine, we know this man had showed up at his workplace, a nearby apartment complex, talking about suicide. He later returned in the afternoon and allegedly fired a shotgun into the air. Then, during his brief attempted getaway, rolled his van and slammed into the embankment that you see behind me. Co-workers at this apartment complex called 911 after they spotted James Rogers with his pump shotgun. Police say as they arrived on scene, Rogers tried to run them over in the parking lot. Rogers lost control of his van just 2 blocks away and barricaded himself in the upside-down vehicle.
The first thing I noticed was the armored vehicles in front of the house.
Joey Padilla watched the standoff unfold from his front porch here on 7th Avenue. Long after police had shut down the perimeter, Padilla recorded negotiators pleading with Rogers to surrender.
They didn't want to have to hurt him. They used those words, "We don't want to hurt you."
Again, you have lots of family that's concerned about you. Your sister, your parents, your children. James, you just need to help.
At this point, Rogers was barricaded inside his upside-down van that was later towed away. Police then drove a robot outfitted with a camera over to the van in the hopes of getting a better look at where Rogers was in relationship to his shotgun.
And that was going to be their last thing. We're going to send the robot. We want to see your hands. We're going to be looking for the weapon. Don't go by the weapon.
But even before the robot could get close, police say Rogers pointed his gun at a nearby SWAT officer.
I took 1 step off the steps and bam, 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 just as fast as could be.
The fatal shooting was not the end result police were hoping for, but even civilians think Rogers deliberately waited for the SWAT team's arrival before forcing the officer's hand.
He wouldn't have waited for the whole cavalry to show up. He would have started his rampage. So yeah, it's undetermined why, and it's a very sad thing for the family, I'm sure. Nobody wins in a situation like this.
And this was the first shooting the police department's SWAT team has been involved in since 2007, and now detectives from 3 different agencies investigating this use of deadly force.
Pretty apparent that Rogers was despondent. Could police have just left him alone until he calmed down?
Well, we've gone to a lot of standoff situations where people are barricaded inside their homes, and we've seen the police department decide just to walk away to allow the situation to de-escalate itself. And that's usually when they're not armed and when they don't have other people inside that residence with them. But with Mr. Rogers allegedly brandishing that shotgun at work, allegedly trying to run over those police officers, and then rolling his car here in this neighborhood, there was just too much of a public safety concern for them to be able to simply walk away. They try to negotiate, but it appears that Mr. Rogers was intent on committing suicide by cop.
All right, thank you, Jeff.
Today, Rogers' father and sister talked with KXLY4 about Jim's troubled past and the events that unfolded yesterday. They were at the scene last night trying to help negotiators save his life. KXLY4's Ian Cull talked with them today. Ian?
Well, Mike and Nadine, I'm in front of SL Start, where Jim Rogers used to work. His father and his sister both say that he loved working here. They also told me today that they're saddened by yesterday's events, and while Jim may have had mental issues, they were both trying to get him help.
I called 911 several times and told them he's not going to hurt anybody. He's out. If he's going to hurt anybody, it's himself.
James Rogers' sister, Angela Krieger, says when her brother was young, he wanted to become a police officer. But after he was arrested by police in Colfax 2 years ago for a DUI and evading arrest, those dreams were gone. She says her family tried to help her brother.
And I've read a lot of comments online where people say, why didn't they get him help? We've tried so many times, and it's so hard to get somebody help.
I'm not surprised. I think that this ends a lot of pain he was going through in his mind. And
Alonzo Rogers says his son turned to drinking while working for military police in the 90s. Since then, he took nursing classes at Whitworth and worked at SL Start, helping the developmentally disabled. Alonzo says his son had mental issues and was acting, quote, funny this past week, even going to see his child in Ohio, his father thinks, to say goodbye. Then yesterday, Jim stole his dad's maroon van and shotgun and called him from the VA Medical Center.
And that's when he told me on the phone at the Veterans, he said, I've got your shotgun. He said, this is it. You know, I've had it. I'm going to go ahead and kill myself.
Despite what happened last night, his family is mourning his death.
You know, he's always said, I would never kill myself because of you, meaning me. Because he knew I couldn't deal with it. We were very close. Very close.
Although Alonzo Rogers says he tried to make contact with his son through police negotiators last night, standard police protocol in these situations is to not allow any outside people in for fear it may spark an emotional response. Live on the South Hill, Ian Cull, KXLY4 HG News.